long story short, about 6 months of depression, and but during the time got my real estate license, and 7 years later, here we are.
So, all right. So let's break that down a little bit, because that's a crazy story in and of itself. Like that's pretty wild, in the sense you went from making 6 mil in revenue, and then all the way to zero, and then back to where you are now. Like that's wild, just in general. So, like, I mean, I feel like that is almost my greatest fear right now, talking to myself right now. Like my greatest fear is I become super successful in real estate, and then something happens and then I lose all of it, right? Like
Yeah.
that to me is like, cuz that's the worst, in the sense that like you had it, you finally start showing people it, that
Hmm.
you had the status, you
Yeah.
were the guy who like is the rich guy, rich friend or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever, like in terms of yours, it's like, the thing is, you were, I don't know, W2, you were job, right? Like it was, you were under a company, right? So like they could
I was
shut it off.
1099, but I was being paid by a company.
Right.
I thought I was a business owner, but once I realized that I wasn't the one like on the check, I realized how much I wasn't, and
Yeah.
realizing they could change the comp and everything, and then it goes away.
Right, exactly. So honestly, that's one of my greatest fears right now, is like that, like going back to that. So like, talk about, I mean, like, how did you get through that, right? Like that could, I think certain people, that could knock them out. So how did you get through it?
Oh, dude, that was the hardest time. I mean, I was in a bad place, man. Like I sold because the cars that I had bought them new, and so when I had to sell them in a fire sale, I had negative equity, and I had to cut a check to sell those, and
Right.
so down to that, and then going back to my parents from like living in a nice house, like with my girlfriend at that time, and just like buying whatever I wanted, doing whatever I wanted, flying wherever I wanted, just literally doing whatever I wanted for, a few years at a young age. And so, um and I had a bunch of friends that were in their mid 20s, and they were my bad influences. I had a bunch of young friends that were like a little bit higher ranks, making like 300 grand, 500 grand, 700 grand, one that was making like a million a year, and they were all mid 20s. And so I was just like partying with them and doing
Right.
whatever and having fun. And so that was my influences. Financially were all bad. I had great
Right.
mentors to like be good at business, but very bad financial mentor.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, when that all came crashing down, I was depressed, and I was depressed. I was anxious. I've had a history throughout my, since my teens, of anxiety attacks, and like I had them under control. And then once all that happened, those came back, and I was struggling with those for a while. And
Right.
but I was like, well, I got to figure out my next move. And so, I was like, well, I know that Darren Hardy got rich through real estate, and I know that that's a good business to be in. So I'm going to get into real estate. And so, I was probably sleeping 12 to 13 hours a day because I was so depressed, and it was so hard to wake up in the morning, just so
Mm,
hard to wake up in the morning just to be excited about life because of everything that happened. And so I and having that fear of like, did I get lucky? Am I
right.
going to be good enough to be successful again? And so, I definitely, share with that fear that, you're sharing. I had that fear of like, am I going to be able to do this again? And so, I got within 6 months of like excruciatingly painful anxiety and depression, working through that and getting my real estate license. And then at that point I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna go be a freaking rock star real estate agent. So just went and hustled, bought another training called Fearless Agent at the time. And
Let me
just
interrupt
went.
you for a second,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
want to understand. When you say working, I was working through it. Was the working through it just getting into being a real estate agent? Would you say that's
Yeah,
how
I w-
it
I would
was?
say about like a month and a half was me like feeling sorry for myself, and just like, honestly, like, like, I just want to die. Like I was in
Right.
a really dark place, honestly. And so it was like a month and a half of like kind of just like PTSD, because I was like, I was the guy. Like I was on like posters and
Right.
shit for this company. I was on a billboard in Phoenix for this company. Like I was
Right.
I everything was amazing, and it just literally like rug ripped out from under you, and everything you knew financially falls apart. You as like a status person, like I would go to conventions with 10,000 people, everyone would be taking pictures with me, and like, everyone would
Damn,
want to come hang out at my room. I'd have like hundreds of people in like a penthouse suite in Vegas, and like
that's
that was what I was
crazy.
used to for years,
That's
like
wild.
literally 4 years of or 3 years of that. And so like now all of that's gone, money's gone, all the people, it's just like everything is gone. And so it was just like a very strong shock, and so it took me like the wind out of my sail for, it was really 6 months of really struggling depression for sure. But about a month and a half of just like I just couldn't really do much because it was just so much that I had to clean up, because it was like after it happened, I had to get rid of the cars and had to figure out where I was going to live. I had to go back to my parents, and then I didn't have a car, and I was like, fuck, like all my money's gone. And I had to, figure out buying I ended up getting like a Chevy Volt just so I can have like an affordable car,
Right.
so it was like ego death, ego death, ego death. And then just people just like shitting on me that were, excited the company, was having the issues it was having. So it was just like all of these negative things happened. And, so
How does that affect you today, you think? Because that's like that is like one of those things. There are certain things where life whacks you, is what I say. It's like there are certain things that happen in life where you just get hit over the head with a
That was
baseball
a
bat, and then
whacker. That
it,
definitely whacked some people that I knew that were like similar success in that company that have not recovered still.
yeah. And like I want to, because like we're literally talking to people who are dealing with this right now, like in the chat. So like I really want to, that's why I'm asking these questions, especially of like being like wonder like things like what, so like when you're doing that, like what did you take from it? Like I get it, like it sounds like here's the way to get out of it is to just get back on the horse, like get back on the bicycle and just keep riding and start figuring out the plan to be able to get back on the horse, right? Like it sounded like that's the quicker you were able to do that, the quicker the problem was solved. That's my
Yeah.
interpretation of what you said.
Yeah.
So tell me if I'm right, and then also tell me what you got out of that whole experience that helps you with like what you do now.
Yeah, so I would say like, in life, like we all become accustomed to a certain standard, right? And so like I became accustomed to a certain standard of living. Like there's a certain type of like hotel that I will or will not stay in. There's a certain type of like Airbnb that I will or will not stay in. At that time there weren't Airbnbs, but like hotels, right? And like a certain type of like vehicle that I will and will or will not want to be in or drive. And you get these standards for yourself, and and really, with all of that crashing down, like it really like bothered me to my core, because I'm like, I don't accept like this standard for my life. I require a higher level of standard of how I'm going to be living, and so I couldn't stay in that place. And so after that month and a half, it was just like, okay. I'm doing this real estate agent thing, and so I just like hustled through real estate agent classes, got my license, and then immediately went to work for a couple months, tried to figure it out on my own, and then I'll continue on that story because I want to answer your other question. But how it affects me today is like that's why I'm conservative, man. Like I make sure my financial house is in order, like my personal financial house, because I went through a lot of financial education, and I've heavily invested in my own personal financial education through my 20s now, after that
Hmm.
experience, to make sure like working towards just being financially unshakable myself. And so that's it's really had me, and it humbled me, because you know as you can imagine at that age, like I
Yeah.
developed an ego. I thought I was the shit, and like everyone was telling me I was the shit, and I had money coming in all the time, so I thought I was the shit. And so I had a bad ego, honestly, at that age.
Hmm.
Like honestly, like it would disgust me if I think back to like how I would act in certain environments. And so I think it was the best thing God could have done for me, was humble me.
I was gonna ask that. Like, do you think that was the universe or God like smiting you, if you would say? Like I think like that. Like I'm a pretty big believer in the universe, is what I call it, of like how things come around. Like, what do you think of that? Do you think there was any maybe supernatural or like just something other than just simply the company like going under, doing whatever?
Hindsight 2020, right? Like during the time I was just like, like this is horrible. But like now, like I think, yeah, I think it was, God just like kind of like smacking me, just like, you fool, like I'll take all this away from you, So
Right.
you don't appreciate it, and you aren't, doing the right things that I would approve of, right? So that's what I think. And so it's and I hope I come across like this. It really humbled me to where I'm like, everything could be taken away from you as fast as you can get it. And so I hope that I come across this way in the world, that I'm significantly more humble than I was at that age. And so it humbled me in a way, because I'm like, everything that I have can be taken away, and then I can get it back again. Like I now know with the skills that I have, I can get it back over and over again. But the like financial lessons and like the way I manage money is like, I'm very conservative. Like probably should be more aggressive, but I just don't care. Like I make good money and I have things that I want, and like my next thing is just going to be moving into like a dream house. But after that, I'm not doing like crazy, like I'm not gonna
Hmm.
go risk what I have for something that I don't need any at this
Right.
stage. Like I already have enough money where like I'm good. Like yes, I don't have my dream garage because I want to collect like $500,000 cars, and like that's not logical yet at the stage that I'm at. But like I just look at things so much more differently. And
Right.
just I have a lot more conservative view on like risk. I don't have a very high risk tolerance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You got burned, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll keep going on with the story. So you start becoming a real estate agent. You start doing
Mhm.
that. What happened?
So a couple months of just like floundering, like not like just figuring out paperwork. So I'm like, God damn, this is a lot of paperwork, and like I don't know what
Right.
I'm doing with this paperwork. So I did that for a couple months of like, I did some rentals and stuff like that, and after um a couple months, I was like, man, like I got to figure out how to get business, because all my 20-year-old friends are broke. All they talk about at the brokerage is work your sphere. I'm like, all my sphere is 20 years old. None of them are buying houses. Like I can't work my sphere. Like I have a couple older friends that are buying, and sure, I can help those too. But after that, now what? So
Right.
I paid for a coaching program, and got into a mastermind within the next 3-4 months. And just all I would do like literally, this is like my schedule. I would wake up in the morning, I would practice my scripts and my listing presentation and just get better and better at that. I would practice objection handling, and then all I would do 5 to 7 hours a day was, I was like, because I don't have a sphere, I don't have the convenience of that. I cold called fit for sale by owners, expireds, canceleds. And I did that. And then I would just circle prospect, which is just cold calling in certain neighborhoods where I wanted to get listings. And all I would do is that 5 to 7 hours a day, and then I would work out, and then at night I would practice my presentation more if I didn't have appointments I was on, or I would
Hmm.
listen to more personal development. And then on the weekends, on Saturday, Sunday, I would do an open house Saturday and Sunday, and I'd be practicing my presentation at the open houses in between guests coming in. And that's all I did for like the next year, and magically,
I love it.
I made 150 grand, and it was
I
like,
love
oh
it.
my gosh.
I love it. I have a question for you because this is something because I was looking at the title and I just thought about this because like I think of you as an integrator, right? Like primarily an integrator because Pace is such a visionary, right? But like
Yeah.
all the things you're talking about are they sound visionary. Yeah, it's like very salesy, very much like talking in front of crowds and stuff like that. And like maybe you can dispel some like notions for me and for everyone in the audience. Like what does it mean to be like an integrator, the person who creates the systems, and what type of person is that? And maybe they can also be good at sales. And like can you talk a little bit about that for a
I
second?
think it just matters like where you get energy and where you don't get energy. So for me, like I get energy like looking at inefficiencies and processes, and like seeing how to make those better, or to add like pieces on. Like I can, like as an integrator, like I can look at like Pace has some crazy ass idea of like, I want to do all of this, and then like I can see like that idea, and it's like, here's the end result of that idea. And I can see like from start of like like all the steps along the way that are going to happen for that end thing to be able to happen. And so I just can see that, like, that's how my brain visually works, is like I could visualize out an entire process. And
Interesting.
so that's how that works for me. I think it's, I don't get energy from doing sales. In some ways, like, I get energy from recruiting people. I like recruiting employees. I love doing that. That's fun for me. I
Hmm.
don't like I don't like selling a widget. I don't like, talking to sellers and trying to sell them. I don't, I just, I'm just so matter of fact. And that's, I think that helps serve me in recruiting people for our teams, for our companies. I feel like I have a talent with that. I think we have some great people. But, I think, you know, as an integrator personality, like, you have visionary and integrator tendencies, and you like lean into where your strengths are. I think that's what's important. And so for me, I just try to lean into the strengths that I have, and a lot of those things happen to be around, process improvement. But, you depending on if you have a partner or not, you have to step out into into the crowd, and do some of the things you don't want to do. And for me, I don't like, I'm not scared of speaking in front of people. Like, I did that for years and put on
Right.
conferences and events, and like, I have zero fear about speaking in front of one person or a
Gotcha.
100,000 people. But the fears I have is more not a fear, it's just like a dread. Like, if you told me I had to wake up tomorrow and cold call people, and then like try to convince people to like let me list their house, I'd want to put a gun to my head.
Like, explain, what do you, that sounds like fear. Like, what do you mean? Like, what's what do you
It's
mean
just
by
so
dread versus
miserably it's just so miserably
miserable?
boring and painfully just like, I
Right.
hate it. So, like, it's just not fun. Like, I did it, and like, that's like, long story short, I did the agent thing. Like, I crushed it. I like was doing the things, and then I hired a couple agents, and I had an admin, and I literally got to the point where, like, one day I just was like, I hated my life for 6 months straight of doing that, but I was making
Mm,
great money. And I just like kept waking up, and I'm like, if I hate myself every day for 6 months, I'm hating my life. And if I hate my life for too long, it means it's a miserable life. And so I literally, one day with that, I just like told my admin, I'm like, I'm getting out of this business. And I told the agents that worked under me, I'm like, deuces, guys, like, I'm not doing this anymore. I hate it. I don't want to do it. And I'm going to go do wholesaling.
I love it. That's sick. So, okay, so to start off that story, so you hear about, how do you hear about wholesaling? How do you like decide that that's the move?
Honestly, like, I had a few people that had gotten deals from me, like, as an agent, that they ended up wholesaling them, and I didn't really understand how that, really worked, but like, they made money and whatever. And so that was interesting. And so for me, I was like, I got into real estate because I wanted to invest in real estate and be an owner. And so after a couple years of doing that, all I owned was my own residence that I lived in. And I was like, man, like, I got into this to invest. And, between the hating being an agent and the, a desire to be on the other side of, actually eventually owning real estate, a lot of real estate, I was like, this is the path I have to go. I don't have, tons of cash, so I can't, go and just start flipping. I had, I had maybe 40 or 50 grand, just set aside. So I could just like, hey, like, I'm just going to go do this thing. And I was house hacking. I lived in a house that was a 4 bedroom that I owned, and I rented 2 of the bedrooms, and my third bedroom, or my fourth bedroom, was my office. And so I just set myself up where I had low expenses, so I could just go all in on wholesale and
Right.
just focus on that. And so I did the same thing as I did with, the Darren Hardy thing. Is I'm like, hey, like, I'm gonna do this for 4 years, and I'm gonna figure it out.
I love it. So tell the story with how you met Pace and how, like, the real cranking started happening, because like I know this story, but I want my audience to know it.
Yeah, so I mean, with Pace, like, I had reached out to a lot of people because I'm like it, as an agent, I wanted to find the right people I could learn to be a better agent, and the same thing I wanted to do once I got into wholesaling. So after a string of, buying some shitty courses, and, I wasted a few grand on courses that were like really bad and didn't really give me good insight on what to do. And then, I paid some people local in Arizona, thousands of dollars to teach me, and they did like nothing for me. And so I was like, man, like, I'm just getting burned out here. But I didn't stop. I just kept pushing forward. And so I just kept reaching out to people. Like, I would listen to, like, I'd have my dual monitors, and I'd be doing my own text campaigns. I had a couple of VAs generating leads. I was getting a couple deals a month. And so, like, I was doing my thing, but I wasn't like, I was stuck. I was like, I keep doing 2 to 3 deals a month, and these 2 to 3 deals would be like $5,000 to $8,000
Right.
assignments. Like I just kept getting. I was just stuck in that same cycle. Which, I mean, for a lot of people, they're like, I would love to be stuck at 20 to 25,000 a month, but like I was like, I
Right.
want to go to 100.
Right.
So
Exactly.
so I was being stuck and just reaching out. Like I reached out to dozens and dozens of people, trying to just like pointless meetings. Like I would meet with people, seeing like, is there synergy here? Is there synergy here? Can we do JV deals together? Like I met with so many people and reached out to so many people. So many people never reached back out to me or never responded.
So hold on.
um
Why did you have that need to do that? Like most people, was it literally you're just like, I'm not reaching the thing, and did you
yeah,
like
I was just like
know that
looking
you
for
needed to be?
answers. I'm not, I gotta break through. Like I
And you
like
knew
my
you needed somebody else to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
like, I just gotta figure, and I didn't know if it was a partnership or like we just need a JV on some deals and then it would like click for me, or like I just didn't know what the thing was to like really go to that, next level. And so um then I was listening to like my religious thing was like every time Real Estate Disruptors was on Steve Trang, I was I would listen while I was just working all day. And so he had Pace on. I probably messaged almost every guest that he would have in some way and asking to, share value, bring them value in some way. Most didn't respond to me, honestly. But Pace gave out his phone number on the thing, and he's like, yeah, I'm
Right.
great. Long story short, he was like, yeah, I close a bunch of deals. I'm a great salesperson. And I was like, that's cool. Like he's great at selling and I don't really like selling. Maybe I could bring this dude leads. So like I remember texting him. I'm like,
Wait,
hey,
sorry,
Pace.
can I interrupt again?
Yeah.
I'm curious, how many people did you text before Pace? Like how many people were you
None
trying
of
to
them put their
contact?
numbers on there. No one put their
Oh,
phone numbers
okay.
on. Everyone else, I'd like Facebook message or Instagram DM or
Right.
like, some other way. And so, and like a couple of them would respond and be like, yeah, man, keep getting after it, or like, stuff like that. But,
But like, how many was it? Because I just want like, because if let's say somebody's like thinking about this, like, damn, like, what if I like? It might sound funny, but like, it's like, damn, I listen to Steve Trang all the time. Maybe I should just hit up every single person on there. Like, how many like interviews do you think it took until like it
I
happened to
probably
hit Pace?
messaged at least somewhere between like 8 to 12 people from
Right,
there. And then outside of that, people that I found on other YouTube channels or on Facebook groups and things, another 10 to 15. So like a good
right,
20, 25 people I've tried to like, reach out to that were like doing good things. And like most wouldn't respond. Or if they did, they'd just be like, keep getting after it, man, or whatever,
right,
and I wasn't offended by any of that. I was just like, I'm just trying to make my place here. And I like, yeah, this is outreach. Like I wasn't expecting handouts, So
right.
for my mindset that I had gotten, from being in network marketing, like I had a lot of training already at that point. And so on kind of like tempering my own expectations as well. So when I messaged Pace, I was just like, hey man, my name's Cody Barton. I saw you on Steve Trang's podcast, and you're great at closing and selling. You're closing sellers, and it's not really my strong suit, but I'm great at generating leads. I have leads, and if you'd let me, I'd love to give you my leads and let you close them. You can keep all the money. But I just want to watch you. I just want to be there for when you close them, so I could learn what you're doing, so I can get better. And that was literally the dynamic of what that message was to him at that time. And you know we uh we ended up, we were supposed to, we like got on the phone, chatted for a little bit, then we are supposed to meet up. He bailed, and then I followed up again. Then we met up at some little Mexican restaurant, talked about just what we're both doing, and then like nothing really came about it for like a week. And then he like was supposed to go golfing, and his like golf tournament got canceled because it rained. And he's like, hey, like I'm driving by. We actually lived 3 miles from each other, which is crazy. Like we'd
That's
never met
wild.
each other. Yeah. And so he's like, I was driving by the McDonald's near your house. He's like, come meet me over here because the golf tournament I was going to canceled. Bring your best leads. And so like I literally like met him at that McDonald's, and I was like, here are my 5 hottest leads. And within 3 weeks, we had 5 contracts, and
God damn.
then the rest of the story then was the end of the story. So here we are.
I love it. And now you're here. I mean, that's just freaking crazy. I mean, like, it is so interesting thinking like dealing like with Pace, like is like so chaotic in the sense like he's just doing so much all the time. How how did you develop that relationship? Like how did that like form where like that trust was made there? Like I guess the way I've heard is that Pace talk about it, how it's like dating somebody as a partner. Like, how do you do the dating of a partnership to find out if they're the one for you?
I think just joint venturing on stuff for a few months, and then seeing how you do, and hopefully that something goes bad along one of those deals, so you kind of see how each other react or respond to that. And so 3 months of us just like joint venturing on deals, then we're like, hey, like let's kind of split some of the cost of what the money is for some of those leads, and we did that for a couple more months. And then we were like sitting at his kitchen table one day, and he's like, maybe in like 2 or 3 more months, if we don't hate the shit out of each other, maybe we should just partner. And I was like, okay, like that sounds good. I was like, everything's going good so far. And he's like, yeah, I think so too on my end. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just keep doing what we say we're going to do every day. So it's just like seeing what our follow through was like, and seeing if we're consistent with what we say we're going to do with what we do. And then we actually, when money comes in, we do it with the money what we're supposed to. And when a deal goes sideways and we both have to lose, how we respond to that situation too. And so we luckily had all of those things happen. And so we're like, well, we get along. We want to strangle each other, and that's still to this day. Like I want to strangle Pace at least twice a month, at least. But like that's part of it, and so it's just it's it's like football. It's like a football team. It's like you need different you have different people, like a quarterback, and then you have like a lineman. It's like it's not that one of them is more valuable than the other. It's like you need both of them. Like the quarterback's going to get smashed if the lineman's not there to protect him, but no one's going to throw the ball if the quarterback's not there. So it's like
Right.
you kind of had to have different people on the team to do different things. And so it doesn't, we have a respect for each other, but it doesn't mean we always like each other, because we have to he has to push me to drive us forward faster, and then I have to like try to put some brakes on, because it's like, this is a fucking mess, dude. Like, how are we supposed to do this with our current staff? So it's like there's so many great things and about it, but he'll be like, he'll go to like a grant like seminar, and he'll come back and he's like, this is ridiculous. Why isn't our team performing like Grant's media team? I'm like, well, because he has 62 employees on his team and we have 12. So we don't have all of those people. And he's like, we just need to have people work harder, or, different things.
I
And so
love it.
like, it's that whole tempering, back and forth.
No, but that's what makes a good partner. It's like yin and yang, like, right? Like you gotta
Yeah.
like it's like how you I read this was like, I don't know if you like Jordan Peterson at all, but I remember he had this whole thing where it's like you can kind of keep your hand straight just going one, like it's somewhat smooth, but to really keep it smooth, you should like have like a force possible. And you're just talking
Yeah.
about that principle, right? Of
Mhm.
like those opposing forces drive forward and it drives success forward. So
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I mean, it's dope seeing everything you guys are doing, right? Like it's incredible. So, my man, we have hit the hour. I'm gonna ask you my last question, and then we'll get
All right.
into plug-in stuff. And my last question is, if you could go back to your high school self, I really want the high school self where we started this podcast, and you could tell high school Cody one thing, knowing everything knowing everything you're going to go through, knowing everything you have now, where you are at right now, what would you say to young Cody?
Do everything that you were going to do anyways.
I love it. I love when people answer that. I love when people answer that, because that's the right answer. Because like, look where you are now. You're fucking balling out, dude. So yeah, because it ended up working out in the end. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And like, I want to go into the people listening right now in the sense that like, that's the attitude you got to have wherever you're at right now, even if it's terrible right now. Like for me, like a lot of my systems are blowing up currently, but like, I still would have never done it any differently because of where I am now and where I'm going to be. So I, like, honestly guys, like keep pushing through it. Like no matter what, like trust me, just be glad everything's happened to you to where you are now, because it could be so much worse. And like, it's just keep doing it, keep doing the thing. Cody, my man, where can people reach you? Is there anything you want to promote? Like tell me how my people can help you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I mean, follow me on Instagram, Cody Barton official on there. I have my YouTube channel, just you could search Cody Barton and you'll find me. I am not the professional football player. There is also another Cody Barton that's a football player that is not me. Um, but he is also on YouTube. So, follow me on there. If you are wanting to scale your business, virtual assistants are definitely the way. Go to startvirtual.com. But other than that, I just want to, hope to share some things that, can help people with their learning curve and be able to, move forward and hopefully break through some of the fears. But I think really just, success just comes down to like commitments you make to yourself. And for me, like that initial 4-year commitment that I made to myself was all the difference, because no matter what, and whenever I had a bad day, I was like, well, man, I'm only 7 months into this 4 years. I got some time on my side. I think people just got to give themselves longer time horizons and not, you know, success is the crock pot business, not a microwave business. It takes some
True.
time. Takes some
True.
time.
I want to ask, because like you gave out, it's at Cody Barton official. This is
Yep.
obviously where somebody could DM you, like,
Yeah.
right? What, let's say somebody's listening to this podcast, they're hearing it, they're like, damn, look what he found pace through like Steve Trang. Like we've been talking about like how to reach out to mentors and stuff. Ideally, like almost word for word, like if someone was trying to learn from you or somebody was trying to like, I don't know, help you out, or like what would you want from them? What would you want them to say to you to like connect with you? Or do you not want them to connect with you? You can just be like, honestly, I don't want to talk to you. I'm okay with
I
that
mean, I'm
answer
happy
too.
to give feedback. If people have like questions on things, like, I'm happy to, give feedback and insight if people message me. Like, there's not really anything that I necessarily need. Like, what I need currently right now is, I mean, I don't like, we're hiring employees for our companies and like just like our recruiting funnel. Like, there's nothing that I really need that I don't have like a resource to get right now or like someone to ask. So I don't really need anything, but happy to bring value. I mean, I need more YouTube subscribers. That's what I need. Go subscribe.
Okay. So we got YouTube subscribers, probably IG followers. So a lot of, so it sounds like mainly social media.
Yeah.
If you have, if you know someone who needs to get it, needs a job, like Cody needs that, guys, figure out a way to get these things, right? If you actually like seriously want to connect with Cody, don't just immediately sit here and be like, oh, I can't do that, so sucks to suck, I guess. Like, no, like if you really like felt this podcast and you really want to like do something and like connect with this man who's making 7 figures in every single business, 8 figures in some of them, in like every single business he starts, like this is someone you want on your team, right? So figure out like how you're going to give value to it. He told you what he wants, so figure it out, guys. That's the key if you actually want to connect with somebody like this. So anyways, my man, I appreciate you so much. Do you have any last words?
No, I mean, I would just say, find something you're going to do and, make a commitment to be a student of the thing. Like that's the thing. Become a student of what you're going to do and stop having such short time horizons on having success.
I love it. Awesome, guys. Cody, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome. Me and Cody did like this agent series today too, so it's been cool to see getting like a double dose of you. It's a pleasure as always, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want more of this stuff. You can follow me at the Scorch, but follow Cody first. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate every one of you who's watching live. And again, if you want to see these, you got to watch them live now, because you're not going to be able to see it for like a month or two because my editor is going to edit it. So you got to keep watching these lives. You got to keep coming on Thursdays if you want to watch the full unedited version. Guys, I will see y'all next week. This was Scorch the Fear. Peace out.